Some of the most common questions that I get when I talk about living in a car are, where do you sleep? What do you eat? Or where do you take a shower? Today, we're going to talk about that. Where do you sleep is by far the most common question about car living. There are many different places that you can use to sleep in your car, so we're going to go over some of the more common ones before getting into the one that I typically use the most. Walmart. You may have actually heard of this already. It's become known that many Walmarts allow motorists to park in their lots overnight. Because of this, you can often find RVs, vans, or small cars with people sleeping in them throughout the night. I have a number of friends that have taken various road trips throughout the US in huge RVs and used Walmarts almost exclusively while on the road. They are generally well lit and they provide a good place to get food or supplies and use the restroom. Now, I have never personally used Walmarts, mostly because in the particular areas that I stay in, those Walmarts don't actually allow you to stay overnight. So if you are thinking about using a Walmart parking lot, you definitely want to call ahead of time and find out if it's okay so that you don't run into problems later. The employees there know that it's common for other Walmarts to allow people to sleep in the parking lots, so it shouldn't be a very strange question to ask them. BLM land. You've likely heard of this term if you're like me and you enjoy rock climbing or camping. If not, BLM stands for Bureau of Land Management, and they are basically free camping sites throughout the western United States. The catch is that there are typically no amenities at these campsites, and oftentimes campfires are not allowed. However, if you're just looking for a place to sleep for the night, this shouldn't matter too much. You can use a government website to find out where these campsites are and the rules for each one. Truck stops and rest stops. These locations are also common while you're out on the road as opposed to urban areas. Because of this, they are more practical as a place to sleep for a single night rather than continuously. They are designed to allow people to park, eat, use restrooms, and sometimes showers, and get a night's rest. Many of the ones that I've used have been well lit and seem safe, but it's always a good idea to be extra cautious since these places are often in more rural, secluded locations. Always scan the area to see who's around, minimize the time you spend outside of your car at night, and always lock your doors as soon as you close them. By far the simplest and most common place where I sleep is neighborhoods. Most of the year I've spent living in my car has been in suburban areas. This means that there is plenty of free parking and my car pretty much blends in with all the other cars parked along the street. I've never had any trouble while doing this, but I generally follow these tips. 1. Always check the area first during the day. Not all neighborhoods are created equal. While many are quiet and safe, there are some that can be dangerous, and you don't want to find this out when you're already parked there for the night. Some signs of bad neighborhoods could be metal bars on the windows, abandoned cars with flat tires or broken windows, graffiti, unkept lawns, or police cars patrolling near the houses. 2. Park away from front doors. To avoid drawing attention to yourself or being a nuisance to the neighbors, avoid parking directly in front of anyone's home. Rather, park along the side where there's a wall or a fence. This way, it won't look like you're staking out in front of anyone's house or taking up parking spots that their friends or family would use to visit them. 3. Park in front of hedges, trees, or other large objects. This is especially useful if your windows are not tinted. Common in the early morning, people like to run or walk their dogs along sidewalks and grassy areas. Parking in front of large objects helps prevent people from walking about and looking into your car. Number 4, only park once you are ready to sleep. If you spend time setting up your car for sleeping, changing clothes, or doing other things in preparation for bed while you're parked in a neighborhood, you're much more likely to draw unwanted attention to yourself. Instead, do all of the stuff beforehand so that once you park, all you need to do is climb into the back and go to sleep. Eating. As far as eating goes, it's common for people living the van life to either build a small kitchen into their vehicle or simply bring a portable camping stove with them. If you can do either of these, it's ideal because you can save a lot of money by buying cheap food from the grocery store and cooking it on your own. For me, I don't have any kind of cookware, and so I have a couple of different solutions. The first is to buy dry ingredients to make healthy shakes. Protein powder, fruits that keep fairly well such as apples and bananas, dried oats and seeds, and green foods powder, added with some water, makes for a tasty, healthy breakfast and lunch. To blend them together, I have a small blender that only requires me to clean the cup and the lid, and I have an AC converter for my car to power it up. Another thing that I've used consistently for some time is Soylent. If you haven't heard of it, it's essentially a meal in a bottle that was developed in Silicon Valley in California and provides you with all the calories and the nutrients that you need for a single meal. You can buy them in packs and they generally equate to about $3 a bottle. Lastly, I enjoy many meals by simply buying sandwiches or other easy-to-eat things from places like the grocery store or Subway. They're cheap, they're easy, and they don't require me to store anything in my car or take up valuable space. Showering. Just because you live in a car doesn't mean your hygiene has to suffer. I always like to stay clean and fresh. The way that I do that is through gyms. Recently, I was a member of a small chain of rock climbing gyms in Southern California, and so I would go just about every day to shower there. If I was staying at a friend's place on a particular night, of course, I would shower there instead. Now, I've decided to join a larger chain of cheaper and more numerous gyms that have locations throughout the entire US so that I can find a place to shower in just about any city that I visit. I carry all of the toiletries that I need with me in the car, and I have a separate bag that I use as the laundry bag. So that's it. That's how I do these basic activities while living in a car. Do you have any other tips that have worked for you? Any suggestions for me? Let me know. Until then, if you like this video and want more, please subscribe so that we can thrive together.